few problems going on, according to one of the Restream servers that allows us to jointly stream to both Twitch and to YouTube. So I'm just checking that. It all looks good. And there you are, and there I am. Hey everybody.
What's up? I need to readjust my settings here because you're like off again.
What's off? Oh, no.
I'll fix it.
I didn't move anything. You did.
Sure. Blame the guy that's not controlling the stream. I get it.
I haven't touched my windows. Now the video editing software, people notice I threw a advertising video up on a couple of the social media areas. My video editing software took a shit on me at the last minute this afternoon, and rather than dealing with it, I just picked up a new piece of software and learned it in an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to do that too many more times.
Way to push it.
Yeah, it always happens on the day you need something.
So I see you posted some fun, interesting stuff on the Discord.
Yes, in preparation for this evening. There's a new channel there that is exclusive to the weekly streams. Hey, Make It. How's it going?
How you doing, bud?
Well, tonight's topic is bed leveling 101. I've done a little bit of preparation for that. Hopefully people will come at us with their questions. Otherwise,
come at me, bro.
Otherwise, I'm going to turn it just into a paragraph or a dictation ceremony and go from there. This portion of the stream will probably go for about a half hour, 45 minutes, give or take, depending on how much interest there is. And then we'll move on to show-offs. Oh yeah, see, Twitch, we've been live for almost 4 minutes now, and Twitch finally figured it out. I hope.
Hey, it's the slow internet age now. We're going back to dial-up speeds.
Well, 20 minutes before I got a hold of Taz here for sound checks and everything, I got a message come through the Restream service that Twitch was having difficulties, and I'm like, oh man, all that hassle I went through today, it better be worth it. Yeah, a couple of other friends of mine in some of the other groups that aren't directly artillery related as well did some sharing of the advertisement and the videos and stuff. I'm really hoping to get us to 50 followers at least. I mean, we should have a lot more than that, but get us to 50 followers at least so we can open up some more perks through Twitch. And in the very near future, I'm looking to be able to get some of the swag out there and some of the contests going out there. It's all going to be dependent on how people participate. For example, speaking of which, let me throw this up real quick until we get a few more people showing up. Taz also opened up his merchandise, and I threw some of those into the stream. I'll pull that screen up real quick. Oh, there's one of his t-shirts right there.
Hey, they're pretty cool looking, gotta tell you. When I have money, I'll buy my own. It's so sad. My wife's calling me stupid.
Hey, the Tolstoy. Where are you at exactly? Well, kind of good news for you. The weekly daily doses, I decided earlier today I'm going to maintain a somewhat of a tighter schedule for the daily doses. Those are going to be the streams that are going to be going on all week. My time, about 10 o'clock in the morning for an hour and 10 p.m. for an hour. That way, we should be able to cover them.
I'm not getting up at 9 o'clock, bro.
Well, I'm not asking you to. I'm usually up to almost 22 and a half hours as it is, hence the dark circles under my eyes. But that's to cover you guys in different parts of the world. Similar time zone as China. They're about 12-hour difference from me, so it's 10 a.m. there right now. So, and maybe we will alternate streams like every other week. Maybe get up on a Saturday or something like that on the off week or whatever, and do one in the morning, so you guys in another part of the world won't be doing things at 4 a.m. Sorry, no matter where you're at in the world, for as many different people as will probably be showing up, we're just not going to be able to cover everybody all the time. But that's also why it's going to be beneficial that these streams will be available for later viewing. I really want to get things set up so everybody at some point can participate anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, the recordings would be beneficial for a lot of people, and they can fast forward to what they want to find too. Maybe. I don't know. I was never good at finding it when I was looking for it for some reason.
well, we'll give it a few more minutes, and then we'll kind of start the ball rolling with regards to the bed leveling. Unless a few of you that are already there have some questions to start off with.
I don't know. I broke down and ordered the PEI sheets like you recommended, so we'll see how that goes.
Speaking of which, I finally put up the beginning of the mod list on the 3D Nexus website with links, so you can actually go right to so you can actually just go right into purchasing them. It's just the beginning of the list. There's probably 10 or 15 different things I've got to add to it still, but I wanted to get it up for tonight. And if Bullis shows up, I did just before the stream.
You did his fan?
I put the fan duct that you see on the lab cam there. The fan ducts are on the 3D Nexus now in a new file area that is STLs and models. It's in the resources section for the files there. You should be able to use the search feature on the website now too. If you just type in fan duct, it should take you right to it as well. I noticed today I didn't get a chance to pay that close attention to Facebook. I noticed a lot of first layer issues are out there. That seems to be one of the more prevalent things in the topics lately. Your bed leveling has, yes, a lot to do with that, but there's other factors involved too. Well, if you installed the mesh bed leveling in the firmware, those steps, when you're actually adjusting the bed up and down, let me get this pulled up real quick here.
What's up, Cornfed?
Hey, Corn, how you doing today?
Oh.
Let me get the right one up here. There we go. Okay. The mesh bed leveling, for those that don't know, it has a 9-point grid. When you go through and you run the mesh bed leveling operation to set it to your EPROM, it's got those 9 points that it takes you through. Most people's beds aren't going to be so far off where when you're raising or lowering the extruder to set each point, you shouldn't see it move that much. I mean, each tap on the key is only a quarter of a step, and that's not very much. Most people have a tendency to, the problem areas that people have are kind of tending to be in the middle of the bed at
around 5.
Yeah, at 0.5. That's the one where you'll see it move the most. You can enter. Okay, my mind is frazzled right now. There's a command that you can enter in your G code at your command console to have it display the current saved mesh. As long as you go through. Thanks, Cornfed. As long as you go through, people are still confused about this too. When you're running the mesh bed operation for the first time, the very first thing that you have to do before you do this after flashing the firmware is to do a factory reset. That's a M500 and an M50 or M503 and M500. After that, my recommendation is first doing the basic leveling of your bed using the manual leveling that is also included in the firmware. That's your normal 5-point that everybody's used to doing. That gets you real close. Then go over to mesh bed leveling, and that way you won't actually have that many adjustments to make when you go through and do that. And go back here. A lot of confusion too. Yeah, thanks, Taz. I knew it was 503 and 500. I'm dyslexic today, so the confusion I was talking about. People are wondering, well, do I need to save it at each point? When that was cool. Is that a dog, Squeaky?
It's a rubber ducky I got with a board today, and unfortunately I hit it by accident, and now I have a little Yorkie climbing on my leg.
Close enough. The reason I say is if it would have been going through my speakers, my dog would have woke up too. Anyways, mesh bed leveling. Getting back on point. Sorry. Here. Yeah. You begin the mesh bed leveling process by using the first button, which is 0.1, and begin. The extruder will go down. You put your paper underneath the extruder, adjust it till it's got that luxurious and erotic drag that we all like to have under there.
Ooh, the erotic
and then
drag.
You click on the next, which will be the 0.2 through 9 button. Go through and adjust it up or down. Onto the next one by pressing that same key again, and repeat that process all the way through 9. It's only after 0.9 that you hit the Save to EPROM key, and then you're done.
I'm just mad about EPROM. Sorry. I'm in a funny mood today. I can't help it. The Tolstoy,
It's really weird. I have not had to include the M420S one in the beginnings of any of my G codes on any of the machines that I've set it up on. I've set it on probably close to about 20 or 25 machines. Those are artilleries alone. And I haven't had to enter that in any of them, and yet the mesh is still stored and it's still using it. I can see just a couple of the machines I have that were customer machines that had the wavy newer beds, the composite beds like what you guys are looking at right here. I could actually see it was making a difference, so I know it was working. But yet there's other people out there, and this eludes me. I mean, I'm not a Marlin magician or a Marlin wizard. I just know enough to do the work that I've done so far. I can't answer it. I've asked some questions about it. Nobody's been able to give me a straight answer, and I haven't even seen any activity from the higher ups in Marlin about what could be going on with it. But it can't hurt to enter it into your start G code either way. It's not going to hurt anything if it doesn't need it and you do it anyways. I guess that's the point. The thing that the bigger mistake that people are making as well is trying to use the mesh bed leveling and the baby stepping that is also included in the firmware. They are not meant to be used together. Baby stepping is if you've got a near perfect bed, similar to the two that you see in the lab cam right there. Those are the original artillery glass beds. They're near perfectly flat. I mean, they're less than maybe 5 thousandths or 10 thousandths of an inch off. Hang on just for a second here, folks. I'll be right back.
So as far as how much drag on your paper you're looking for, you want enough to where you can still move it, but you feel slight resistance on the paper. So you're going to feel a slight pull, but not where it like grabs it and you can't move it. Should be able to slide it around, but still feel like the nozzle. Almost, you can almost feel like the actual tip of the nozzle when you're pulling it. And that's what you want to get. So it should be able to move back and forth, but not be stuck one way or the other. So you want to have a nice smooth pull. I was going to do the count jokes on his bed leveling. I was going to go one, but I don't think he'd find it funny. So. Because I've made the mistakes when leveling, and I first started was thinking that I had to grab that paper, and it has to slide. Because if you don't, you're going to get too thin, and then you're going to wind up with like weird layer lines, and also like a lot of times it's going to hit the next layer, which is not good. I told you, man, I've had one of those days today. The weather's been kind of crummy, and it actually put me in a weird mood. I don't know why. But I just find a lot of things amusing today. And my Get Smart joke was good, though. How are you making out with that project anyways? I'm kind of watching it on Discord, but So you're doing the standard leveling and then the 5-point. You should be getting a good level that way, I would think. You having trouble with anything, or is it not quite grabbing, or? You could try Tinkercad, because you're talking simple shapes with pretty much what you want to do, and Tinkercad's really quick. I mean, I use it to cheat. I mean, I got a little bit of knowledge of 360, enough to like make a horrible model maybe, but I generally just throw something in Tinkercad and mess with it, because I can adapt other files really quick that way. And that's how I like to do it. I grab something I like about a model somewhere, and then take off pieces I don't like. Another thing you're going to find is, I had this, in fact, yesterday, I've been fighting with these printers and level and my nozzle. And when the weather gets weird, so you get a weird humidity or you get a quick change in temperature, your level is always going to be weird. You're going to have to redo it, believe it or not. I've watched this on both of my machines that I got. Actually, all of my machines, I've had a re-level when the temperature spiked one way or the other. So
Sorry about that. I had to dig myself up some cough drops. Throat's a little scratchy.
yeah, I mean, weather's going to affect it too. So you might think you have a perfect level and then come back the next day and you have to check it again because you've had a major spike in temperature or humidity. That's why I get, like, with those guys that buy the silicone for the beds. You're losing a lot of your ability to adjust with those. I'm not a big fan of the silicone mounts. I've seen somebody posting them like they're the end all be all to bed leveling, and they're not. You're creating a bigger problem. The enclosure should reduce your time of screwing around with different weather to some degree. I mean, like I said, your ambient temperature in your room is going to affect your bed level no matter what you do. So if you can keep it consistent, you're going to have to do it less.
You can cheat a little bit. I did a video a few months back just to show people the bed surface that you use can also have a little bit of bearing on how much flexibility you have with your ambient temperatures. I am the broken record when it comes to the build surfaces that I use because they just don't quit. The PEI in the lab where you see these printers as well as some of the other ones on the farm are in a section of the offices that in the summertime has a lot of air conditioning going. So we have a lot of cool breezes going back and forth. And also out in the other portion of the shop area, it gets up to like 100 degrees. So when somebody opens up a door, you'll get hot air rushing through, and then when the door closes, you'll get a kind of like a cold cyclone that goes through it. Without the better build surfaces, just like problems that other people experience, you'll get prints lifting, some even popping off the plates and things like that if it happens too much. With this build surface, I don't have that issue. Last night, while we were streaming, I was showing off uh, uh, an example of good adhesion on your build plate there. The printer that's on the right has a standing box lid that is only,
what, 3 millimeters thick?
barely. That's how thin. That's how thin that is on there, and it's standing straight up, and it prints that way. It was printing at 50 or 60 millimeters a second too, and as you can see, it finished properly.
It's still standing.
Mm-hmm.
That's half the battle with this stuff.
Yep.
And then you were saying these are all standard settings that you already had in the in the profiles. So
Yep. All the profiles that I release, I don't hardly change anything. I use them actively on all the machines there, and it's not just one. I Yes, every printer in the farm, as well as all the lab computers and everything, they're all sitting on a foam. A little key though, um, underneath of all the printers that you don't see though, there's these little printed caps, and all they do is they spread out the footprint. Oh, hey, Bolus. Hey, Bolus. Since you're just showing up, I'm kind of a little bit of a off track here. The fan duct that you see on the printers here is on the 3D Nexus in the file resources area. You should be able to go there, and there's a new file section for it. I made sure I got it up there for you. Anyways, back to what I was saying. These little caps are put under most of the printers. It's not just the Artillery brand, to increase the footprint that the feet place on the foam. That keeps them from sinking down. It takes a lot longer, maybe 6-8 months before they start to drop a little bit. Oh, you're welcome, Bolus. But also too, every single printer, because of the maintenance that I do and everything like that, from time to time they might get scooted over an inch or two every week or two or every 3. So, because a lot of people had a question. The Artilleries have the ventilation fan underneath the printer, and
Right.
if you just use the feet on foam like that, over time the weight of the printer will sink it down into the foam, and it'll actually cut that airflow off. These little beasties alleviate that issue.
Well, so would cutting a hole in it in a channel, right?
Yeah, you could do that, but I'm lazy.
I know. I'm ambitious. Don't mind me.
My other thing too is for as many printers as I go through, and for as often as I'm moving printers around, it's like the printers that are in the lab at any given point in time. It's like right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 printers in the lab right now, and depending on what type of work that I'm doing with them, whether it be prototyping or just testing things, they might move. They might
Right.
move and shift around. Well, cutting channels in the foam isn't always, for me anyways, isn't always a good idea, because I just,
They might.
knowing that there's a hole underneath that doesn't fit.
Well, I'm just thinking for people that have their setup already dialed in, like a guy that's going to have 1 or 2 printers. You could simplify it and not have to worry about
Yeah,
syncing
easily.
it. You just cut a channel out for where your fan is, and then draw a line out so there's some kind of venting so it flows smoothly. Is all I'm saying.
And to some degree, that actually work out even maybe a little bit better, because that would decrease the chances of dust and other things maybe making its way into the printer. I know I've
Right?
seen
You're going to get airflow.
I know I've seen some people's print beds and their printers, judging by the pictures that I've seen on the forums and the groups. Some people, it's like they have a sawmill or something like that in the room next to them. Does that upgrade fan use the stock fan? No, that uses a 5015. I
Or
erroneous,
5015? My
yeah,
bad.
I erroneously called it a 5020 last night because I had been working with 5020s on some other printers. It's the 5020s, the 5015s.
I stand corrected. Happens all the time.
Hmm. I the toll story I used Prusas and still use. I've got a couple of Prusas sitting in the office that I've been using since the MK2 days, not MK2S, the MK2 days. Those were the first two um, stable or solid printers that I will claim that I had. They're also Prusa. Thank you, Joseph, by the way. Shameless plug for Prusa printers. Joseph is the one that's responsible for making me the prick I am about some of the things that I do. Um, the printers are solid. We won't get into any arguments about the price and all this other stuff because everybody has differing opinions on that. But back when those came out in 2015, 2016, um, those were it. Those were the printers that were good, solid, and all of these other brands that have came since and had been operating even since then, they really at the time didn't compare. The Prusas were innovative, but that's not so much true anymore. If you spend any great deal of time on the Prusa forums or any of the other brand forums for that matter, you'll see the same issues that we're seeing on the artillery groups. Um, Most of it is all user experience and knowledge. You know, 3D printing to some degree is an equalizer in the respect that you got to put your time into learning about how these things work. And there's a lot of people that, um, oh, they've had one brand of printer, they've had one printer, they've modded it, they've played with it, they've spent some time with it, and maybe even gotten a little intimate with it from time to time, judging by the way some of the posts go. Um, they're going to know the printer, they're going to know how well it works, and of course they've got it running well. So when they come to a new printer, the same knowledge about one printer brand doesn't always apply to the next. There's always going to be unique challenges and things like that that are going to be unique to every brand of printer that you pick up on, artillery included.
I'd say my maintenance regimen is usually about maybe, I'd say 20 hours of printing. I'll go through and check all my mounts. I'll check my wheels, check my belts. I'll clean off any residual BS that I got from other prints. I'll do a nice, really good bed cleaning. I'll check my Z rods. And then I'll check my hot end to make sure that nothing inadvertently got in there or too much dust. I got a little paintbrush that I use for the inside of things that I brush out. I get a little meticulous with it.
Yeah, in addition to that, things like, checking lubrication. We were talking about this in a previous stream. The types of lubrication that you use on like the Z rods and things like that. Some people prefer the PTFE wet lubricant. Some people prefer the dry lubricant. And you got old dogs like me that also have 40 gallons of the stuff laying around, lithium grease. But all of my machines get wiped down, and all of those rods and everything like that get cleaned at least once a week religiously too, because they're running every single day. And the maintenance thing is just something that I've been doing for not just with 3D printers, but with any of the other machinery that we use in our shops here. I've been doing that my whole life, so it's already a habit that I have.
Well, I'll be honest. Like, I think that's part of my problem. Yesterday, when I was having nothing but trouble with printing, I didn't do the one printer I normally do maintenance on in my time frame, and sure enough, something went amiss. So it was the hot end and leveling issue, but because I didn't do my normal checks, I didn't catch it before it happens. Normally, I'm pretty good at catching, like, oh, that's getting this, or this needs to be adjusted, and I didn't catch what was going on with my hot end, and I wound up having to replace it because of my own fault, not because of the machines. They've been printing straight 24/7, so I didn't do my due diligence on it, and I paid the price.
Oh, hey guys, too. Oh, Bolas, I see you're printing a pulse rifle from Aliens.
That's always fun.
You got any pictures of it or anything like that? You can upload them to the Discord. Um, from time to time, folks, there's a link showing up uh, with our helpful bot here for the Discord channel. You go ahead and join up in it, and there's a text channel which allows you to upload images to for the coming soon in the stream here, the show off session where users can upload their pictures of the current prints that they're working with, maybe even pictures of their printers, dogs, cats, things like that. Shame, shame upon your name, Taz. How's
Yep.
that? Oh,
Because I didn't do my maintenance, didn't do my due diligence like I normally do.
oh, I just noticed too. I am so. There we go. I forgot I had the guests banner, the guest plate up underneath the name right there. I was expecting a couple other people to show up and they didn't.
It's okay. I take care of it.
Yeah.
I got my own damn banner. I'll show you. Well, and a lot of things is newer people come in and you see all these great, awesome prints. No one tells you about the garbage pail they have in their office or space full of the failures that happened before that.
Yeah, just
I
like
mean,
just
even like Fenn with his printing, he has failures too. They just don't get shown because we're not going to show off. Hey, look at me, I'm an idiot, or I did this wrong, or this didn't turn out. Unless we're like showing somebody how something can go wrong,
I'm at
we're
this.
going to hide it.
Yeah, well, I'm at the stage now where most of the time, and literally most of the time, I don't get failures unless I purposely make them fail. When I'm testing, like say for example the firmwares, new slicer profiles and things like that. Yes, I get failures and things like that when I'm refining that stuff, but I don't count those. After I've got what I consider my profiles for my machine set up and everything like that, um, you shouldn't be experiencing these issues from time to, or as often as what I see people, having problems with. Um, sometimes
But
too, well,
that's
sometimes
not true either, though. I mean, I hate to disagree with you on it, but some of these models are horseshit.
I'm a
Excuse me.
modeler. I'm a
Excuse me.
modeler, so I can
I
pretty
said
much,
some of them are.
yeah,
You can fix it, but there's the problem is that some of these guys are pulling STLs off of this site or that site,
yeah.
and there's holes in them. There's things that the polygons aren't in the right way. That kind of thing can throw off your print too and make you think, oh, it's mechanical when it's really not. It's the way it got sliced by how the modeler made the model.
Well,
So you're stuck with that too.
I hate to point out to some people too, but the Benchy model that's out there, okay, is fucked up.
It's flawed.
the,
It's supposed to be though,
the there's some
to some degree.
there's some issues with that model, especially at the level or at the point where the floor of the boat, the deck that someone would walk around on, that point where it meets up with the walls of the boat, ain't right on some of the models I've had sent to me. So, and I'll say, going all the way back to 2014, 2015, I have not to date printed a single Benchy. Never.
I've done a couple.
After 2016, 2017, it became kind of a personal challenge. It's like, no, I will not print a Benchy ever.
You know, it wasn't one of my first prints, I'll be honest. And I avoided printing it because I thought, this is another one of those going to test my printer and show me flaws that I don't want to find anywhere.
Now
I don't know.
I'll say once you get a good filament brand, that you like working with, um, once you get your profile set and running, you shouldn't have issues on a regular basis unless something goes wrong.
Right.
Um, it, you know, uh, there was a time, the old place that I used to live, I didn't have the lab-like conditions that I'm blessed with now. Um, without fail, the transition from winter to summer, springtime when it's raining all the time and everything like that, I'd start getting crappy prints. I'd start noticing differences, and that's also too when I finally decided to um, uh, create a storage solution for the filaments that I used and everything like that to maintain a good humidity all the time, proper humidity and proper storage habits. And I haven't had issues with it since. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is now. So
I'm going to say the main test I normally use is an XYZ cube for my filament. I know I don't worry about temps as much. I don't worry about I want to see how it makes the cube and check for if I'm getting, the right extrusion and the right type of layer lines I want. And that to me is the simplest and quickest way to see what's going on with filament.
yeah, Mike, the Discord server that I set up, it's a 3DN Discord server. It's only for primarily, and I was actually going to point this out to you guys a little while ago. It's only for this stuff. It's so I can actively maintain and deal with uploads and things like that from day-to-day user images for help, show off images, things like that that people are doing, and also a private weekly uh, set of topic images that I can pull up at a glance and show to people and point things out with. I was going to point out to you guys that I don't want to take away from the already existing um, Discord channel that is running all the time. I just found that as far as solutions go for the streams and things like that, it's so much easier to upload the images in bulk to the to a Discord channel. So I want to get with you guys anyways and get uh, a permanent invite link that I can also put into the streams here and direct people to that too.
I forgot to shout it out on the artillery Discord, and Mike took care of that for us. So thanks, bud.
Yeah, there's also too, being that from time to time some of the 3D Nexus streams aren't going to be artillery related. I've got 3D modelers, some of the names that are out there you guys are probably aware of. A couple of other manufacturers of CNC, CNC enthusiasts. I do a lot of airbrushing, miniature gaming, and terrain modeling and stuff. So there's going to be times when some of the streams are going to be directed towards that, and that's where I wouldn't have wanted to impose any of that on a artillery specific Discord server either. So Coconut, that's a good question, but man, it doesn't have an easy answer because um, uh, say for example, and I can only look at it from my perspective, um, I pretty much know what to look for. And I just kind of have a list of things that I'll run through, and you pretty much named them. You know, it's on a case by case basis.
Well, the key is a lot of guys just say it when they start typing out their question. It's like it's been running fine and perfectly with X or Y Z filament, and then I use this filament, and look what I got. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be something with it being out of spec, just crappy filament, or even like it's going to be damp or moist that's causing you grief. So you kind of have to zero it out for yourself and see. It's there's not a right or wrong answer to say, yeah, this is what it's going to be or that's what it's going to be. But so it's not. It's a great question, but not an easy answer, unfortunately. But you have to kind of get used to. You know, I got a couple brands that I stick with that I know, and then like you will hear if it's really moist, you'll hear it pop, and you'll even see like almost like air bubbles in your print. So that's how you really know it's really like damp. You're gonna get like little like air bubbles as you're printing because it's getting so hot and burning off all the moisture as it's going through that it puts those little dots in your final product. So. He switched over to a different screen. I don't know. He's trying to make me money so I can buy my own swag. There's your puppy. You can see your dog wandering around behind you. Can I get you?
I'm sorry,
Who's Mike?
I had my mic off. Sorry.
Ah, see, I hear you. So sorry. I hear his
Yeah.
mic.
Yeah, my dog is a wolf hybrid, and this time of the this time of the season, when we're transitioning into you know, spring-ish and getting close to summer, she just starts losing fur everywhere.
Ooh, a 3DN maker coin.
Hey, you know, I'm not beyond making something myself, but hey, man, uh, I won't be so pompous to say that if anybody else wants to try to make, hey, maybe we can have a contest and see who comes up with the best maker coin. That'd be cool. As a matter of fact, I'll throw down for it now. If we get a fair amount of people that are interested in doing it, we'll have a maker coin contest for 3DN, and I'll drop a mug or a T-shirt or something like that from the merch store on whoever wins, whoever we choose to go with. Plus, they'll also get a printed copy of it. Although whoever makes the model, I'm sure they'll probably print one themselves anyways. But
I got the best challenge coin ever back in the day. I can tell you that. I got one from General Pace back when I was on his detail back in the day. Joint Chiefs of Staff.
now, what is that printed with?
This is actually cast.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what printer did that?
I wish my printer could do this.
No, so that's something else that aside from 3D printing does relate to the other part of some of the businesses that I do. I do a lot of archaeological and historical research, casting, everything from white metals, gold, silver, but my passion is bronze. I do a lot of bronze casting, and a little closer to summer, some of the streams that I'm going to be doing are going to be related to that as well. That's another whole section of the studios that I operate here. Shameless plug.
Now,
Historical
I got a
Origin
question.
Studios.
Are you using any of the FDM printers to facilitate casting, or
No,
okay?
no. That's primarily resin printers. Early on,
That's what I thought.
I used FDM for just doing shitty things like sprues, time saving like mold boxes and things like that, so I didn't have to waste so much mold compound and things like that. But FDM is never going to be able to produce prints good enough to fit the bill for the types of things that I want to do.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I just figured I'd put it out there for everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that in the group too, and somebody reported that post too.
Did they really?
Somebody reported that post, and I can't remember who it was, but I shot him a message back, and I said, "Really?" I said, "It's April Fool's, dude."
Right?
Yeah,
I thought it was funny too.
They didn't respond back to me, so
Probably didn't realize it was April 1st.
Ooh, that's my WeChat ping real quick here. I'll be right back in a second, folks. Maybe we'll get a couple visits from artillery. They're back.
Yeah, I think them adopting the 3D printer to like make copies of like the bones and stuff is kind of neat. Or even like some of the stuff you can't really physically put your hands on, some of the classical items that you'd like to look at. It's going to be 24 volt on the fan. You don't want a 12 volt because that's going to cause problems. It might work for a little while at 12 volt, but it ain't going to last long. And you just want to you don't want to risk shorting out that ribbon cable at all. That's just it might be throwing too much power. But yeah, I want to say the Smithsonian has a whole bunch of stuff you can actually print yourself, which is kind of cool. I mean, there's supposed to be largely a library from what they were talking about, so you could like be at home and print it, so you don't have to go to the museum and look at it. You know, something that caught your attention, you can print it out and have a copy of it by really 3D scanning the actual item, which is really cool. Maybe one day I'll get a 3D scanner. Probably not, but it sounds good. Well, I've always found history really interesting, so yeah, I mean, it's awesome for schools, but you know, yeah, I've played with the phone a bit, Mike, but it's just not as nice as an actual dedicated scanner would be. You know, I even looked at it because I have an old Xbox 360. You're supposed to be able to use that as a scanner too, but that means I have to figure it out and make it work, which sometimes doesn't always work out well. That's it. Thank you. I couldn't think of the name of it. Well, the tension on the belts should be enough that they don't slip, but not overly tight. If you cannot move it freely by hand back and forth, your belts are too tight. So you're going to introduce all kinds of problems when the stepper is trying to turn that and struggling, and you're going to cause yourself all kinds of issues with printing. So you want to keep it tight enough not to slip on the belt, but not overly tight so that you can't move the. Same thing with your carriage wheels and your bed wheels. Everyone wants to crank those down, and what you want to do is make sure they don't move or rock. They still need to roll freely. So what you can do with those is hold the carriage still, and you should be able to, with slight pressure, push the wheel with your one finger, and it should be able to move. It shouldn't be stuck to where you have to like force it. It should be able to move slightly as you're putting pressure on it. That's how you know they're accurately tight. So between that and belts, I mean, I hear everyone saying, "Oh, it needs to sound like a guitar string," or things like that, and it really needs to be tight enough that if you go to pull it, it's not going to run through on the gear and on the teeth on your pulleys. You got one wheel underneath that won't make contact. Are you talking about on the carriage itself or on the bed? Because the bed's a little fiddly because of having 6 wheels. But if you're talking about the carriage, that's a whole different problem. Someone's moving their garbage cans in the neighborhood. Sorry. Yeah, under the bed, it's hard because the main thing is you want them 2 outside ones actually making contact. That center one isn't that big of an issue, but you can take up the slack a little bit. But if you can't make it fully touch, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Odds are one of your other wheels on the opposite side, the hole's probably drilled off slightly. So it's pushing that other side out, and at least the outside 2 are grabbing. So that's where you're okay. You don't have to really worry about it. But, if you're trying to dial it in, it's like, one wheel is not going to make a huge difference. As long as you're not rocking back and forth or up or down, it's fine. I had one for a while that wouldn't do it, and then I don't know what happened, but after a while it actually kind of settled, and it finally did touch when I messed with it. So I don't know if it was just from being used and it finally got to where it needed to be or not, but...
Hey, you other guys that been having the Discord channels for a while, have you guys been having problems with your links expiring, even though you set them to permanent?
Yep. Yeah, they expire.
Even though you set them to unlimited and...
Yep, they expire about a day and a half is the most you're going to get out of the link. So you have to keep reposting it. It's the way they got it set up.
Stupid. Hey, Discord. Stupid.
Right? But I think it's so that you can't get hacked. This is the whole premise.
What if I want to be hacked?
Well, I think it's so you don't get inundated with people just jumping on and screwing up your server. So that's what I remember the claim was.
Yeah, well, yeah, then they need to take that option when you're selecting. Yeah. So
they need to tell you exactly. They need to tell you that no, this link doesn't last forever, even though you said you wanted it to.
Well, one of the guys from the Forward 3D printing group, Derek, are you out there? You might be watching right now. Yeah, he shot me a message and he was saying that the link expired for the Discord. So what I'll do is I'll get a brand new one and get that pulled up here again.
Yeah, probably every day we'll have to post one just to update it.
I will find some way to automate that process, damn it. You watch me.
Well, I guess you could run yourself some kind of script that pulls a code for you every day.
Yeah, why give us the option for no limit and expire after never?
Like I said, they said something about like 1 to 2 days it stays valid, and then it isn't valid anymore, and they know it's an issue, but they haven't done anything to address it yet, as far as I know. Because another group I was in was having trouble with that, because we'd post links and then all of a sudden it'd be like, I can't get in, or this or that, and so we had to get another link. It's not a problem though. If someone asks for a link, we could one you or I could pull it up and throw it up for them, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's the new one that I just made, and it better work, damn it. It should. The monkey is not pleased.
Denied. Hey, I won't complain if it still works 3 weeks later, but I know that our Discord channel, I'm on a different one with a friend of mine, and every couple of days we have to redo it.
Maybe it's a
And when
random.
we contacted support, they told us that's how it works.
Maybe it's random and they can't figure out why.
It could be some kind of random code. It's a possibility.
Hey, just like with the 3D printers, we got some people that just can't seem to get their printers working right, and I feel really bad for them. There's some people, we exhaust
Hours.
every avenue known to man and creature of habit to try to figure out what's going on with their printers, and maybe there's some people that just shouldn't be printing. I've met a few of those. There's some people.
Yeah, I've had quite a few personal messages with those people too.
Yeah. Anyways, back on topic to get it kind of zipped up a little bit. We've been talking about bed leveling and some of the other things I wanted to point out. Junior mince eggs. He's got a squeaky toy to go with it too.
Rubber ducky, you're the one.
Yeah. Something else I wanted to point out too, and this only seems to be happening on maybe some of the newer printers, and I'll explain why in a second. I'm going to pop the screen here. And I want to show you this first. Okay, everybody knows what that is, or should have an idea what that is. That is your Z sensor. Well, the newer models of the printers have a pre-drilled hole that the Z sensor mounts into. I have seen on more than one printer coming through here I'm just going to comment on both what Mike said and what Bolo said there. Yes, that's true to some degree, but I've also known people that I wouldn't trust with a screwdriver that, I'm serious, picked up and, they just kept at it, and I'll give anybody the opportunity and the credit to be able to sit down long enough and learn something and learn how to do something right. It's just that it's going to take some people longer than others. To me, that's a little bit more realistic, I suppose. But anyways, the newer printers, they have a pre-drilled hole that the Z sensor mounts in, and on a few of the printers, it seems like there was a little bit of inconsistency where that hole ended up on the extrusion.
Yep.
That can have bearing on this.
Leveling. Yep.
That can have bearing on the spring tension. The spring tension that you should have on the printer is kind of important when you're first setting the printer up, and you want to make sure that the Z sensor is hitting or triggering at 0 or home when all of your springs are, for the most part, just about all the way compressed. You don't want all the spaces that are between the springs, you don't want them touching, but you want them really close to that. That's kind of a good spot to be. And for those people who have have the printers that have the pre-drilled holes for that, you can,
Get a shorter screw and a T-nut.
yeah, you just get a, you get a, well, actually, it might be a longer screw, or yeah, shorter screw. Okay, yeah, I'm going backwards. And a T-nut. You can cheat if you're like me and you no longer have any of the filament holders on top of your printer, which is a good idea. You have extra T-nuts. So it's because the T-nuts on the filament holders uh, will work in this extrusion as well. And by putting that T-nut in there, that allows you to adjust that up and down.
I get why they did it. I'm just not a fan of it.
Well, what can happen too? What can happen too is the stepper motors. If the stepper motors are also mounted slightly up or slightly down, um, that can have a little bit of a bearing on what's going on there. I've seen a couple of the earlier ones that for some goofy reason, the stepper motors were mounted too tight to the base, and it wasn't allowing the extrusions to tighten up as well as they should. So again, these are all little fine details, when you're trying to troubleshoot something and you're looking over something, but making that modification to make your Z sensor adjustable so that your spring tension is good and tight to start with will go a long way towards ensuring that you're able to level your bed.
Yeah, as I always say, it needs to be a little bit more than 50% so people kind of get the idea. It needs to be squished but not compressed all the way.
Well, Mike, the acceleration, it's been so long now since I worked with the default acceleration on any of the printers because, the firmware that I use. I do remember it being very fast. But then again, I've never homed Z, the very first thing I do when I'm assembling a printer, that's the very first thing that I adjust and the very first thing that I make sure, because working with glass beds and things like that, if you've ever used a TiVo, the TiVo printers, especially the Tornado, they are notorious. I've got one sitting in the lab. They're notorious for the beds cracking, and it doesn't take very much, especially under a situation like what you're talking about with the nozzle going down and smacking into the bed.
Hey, Ben. Welcome.
Hey, Ben. Yeah, anybody that's watching, if you haven't, like, follow, subscribe, that'd be awesome. We're trying to, especially on Twitch, we're trying to get ourselves up to 50 or so this evening. That's going to open up some perks for future streams. And if you've got a young'un downstairs that's playing on a video game or something like that and he has a Twitch account, make him hop on and watch for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, the sensor is supposed to stop, so the red light activating is supposed to stop further movement. So the red light being on means it's not supposed to go down any further. If it's not going off is where it can go down and crash into the bed.
Yeah, being that early on, especially with the first couple, we had the adjustable Z sensor, and without even looking in the instructions, I mean, I just knew to, set that, because I've always been, if you've ever had a nozzle dig into a bed, so far that it actually divots the bed material, like if you have printers that use like the build tack or some of that other stuff, the Wanhows were notorious for that. I got a stack of dead fake build tack plates out there from Wanhow.
My Delta did that. Oh my God.
That have got
I want to cry.
Well, what it should normally do when, under normal circumstances, when it drops, when you home the Z, your Y end stop, which I've been told now lately is also sitting in a pre-drilled hole. Is that true, you guys?
Really? They put that in a pre-drilled hole too?
I seem to recall somebody telling me that. Well,
Ooh,
when your bed goes all the way back, when you home all, your nozzle should be kind of just sitting slightly off of the corner of the bed, but you
right.
should be able to drop your vision down and be able to look at it level, so that you can actually see right where the nozzle is in relationship to the bed. And if it's sitting down too low, if your nozzle is sitting down too low after it does that initial drop and then comes back up again, you do need to adjust your Z sensor.
Yeah, technically the bed's supposed to be out of the way when it's homing down. So
But
I think there's two reasons for that was so it didn't hit the bed, and so when you were purging, it didn't back up into the nozzle.
Bullis, so yeah, if the X gantry is away from zero, that red sensor shouldn't be on.
Right. Because that's going to actually screw up printing. Because it's going to be triggering a constant end stop, which has a tendency to put layer shifts and everything else in your printing.
Ben, yes, the X1 is or does use a Marlin-based firmware, and we had a user or two that was in process of hooking up a Prusa MMU2. I haven't seen anything out of them, or I haven't seen anything recently about it.
Yeah, because wasn't he making it instead of buying it? So he was actually making it from 3D printing and assembling it that
Well,
way.
the MMU, just like the rest of the Prusa, is open source.
Right. I
So,
just I remember recalling seeing it when you were talking. That's why I was thinking.
but if you want a better option, that I don't endorse either way, but if you want a better option or perhaps something a little bit more stable, it's Chang. Are you talking Chan H?
Yeah, I think he's talking about.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't throw any tantrums. I that's hey, I'm an administrator on the groups and everything like that, and between him and Wagster, when they got into their little war over the BL Touch thing, I didn't want anything to do with it. And it was me being monkey in the middle, and I really didn't appreciate that. So yeah, I'll guest anybody on the show that wants to show up, as long as they've got content that people are going to want to talk about. If they're just going to be here to plug stuff and everything like that, no. Well, Mike, the when I rewrote the Marlin Advanced firmware, I slowed those movements down, because I didn't like stuff knocking around either. That's kind of another
Yeah,
reason why I built that into the firmware.
I slowed him down on my SKR and my MKS S Gen L. I slowed him down too. I didn't think they needed to go that fast either, but I think they're trying to show off the features of the printer. But that's just me.
Yeah, I'll get you the Twitch channel here in a second.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
I can take care of some of the mundane tasks for you. It's not a problem. It's a lot better than your monkey.
Yeah, I just got to move it forward. The alert. I got to move the alert box forward though on this screen.
There you are.
Hey, I like my monkey.
Well, I'll be right back. I need to step away for a minute. Don't talk about me when I'm gone.
Gotcha. Since he got up and left, I'm going to throw the monkey up that he hates. Okay. Well, the problem with springs on any of the end stops is they're going to self-adjust and or wear out over time. That's going to be yet just another thing that people are going to have to play with. There's probably pluses and minuses to looking at it, looking at it from a positive or a negative fashion, I suppose. Check the Discord real quick here. Well, yeah, and if the other thing too is if for some goofy reason, say if you are doing a high-speed print, last I knew, I spoke with Tracy just a little while ago, and earlier this morning. Last I knew, there are still refurbs. Your best bet is to contact her directly. She's going to have the running numbers and the totals, at her fingertips. I don't want to give any specific numbers or anything like that because, there's a potential for me being wrong, and without her here, So does anybody have any prints they want to show off today? Oh, hey, Mr. Square. Um, if they are the refurbs that Artillery endorses, that's yet another reason to go directly through Tracy. They fully warrant them. They certify and warrant them, so you get a good price on them. A lot of the refurbs, people ask, well, where do they come from? And if, most of the time, um, I've seen all level. Brant Deckers, when he was handling the refurbs, he posted some pictures last year of how people send printers back. Some of those printers were screwed up, but the way Artillery does things, the way they handle things, they have places that are certified to do the refurbishing, and it's basically on them to make sure that the printers going back out are able to be warranted. I've seen probably about a dozen of the refurbs, and every single one of them were as good as new. There's a couple of them that had like maybe a couple of scratches or something like that, just cosmetic stuff and everything like that, but that doesn't have any major bearing on anything. But most of the time, you really couldn't tell the difference between a new printer and a refurb.
Yeah, my version 1 that I got through Tracy was great. I mean, they were talking about might have to do something, and I got it, and I was like, it actually was set up rather well when I first got it. I didn't have to do too much to it at all.
Yeah, Mr. Square, I've worked with so many different printer brands over the years, and it's no secret. I worked with Wanhao for close to 3 years. I've had Prusas through here, TiVos, ANETs. God, what else? Yes, even a Hicktop or two, the early ones. Anycubic. I've had a couple of the newer companies, some of the more recent companies want to send me printers, but I started turning them down when I decided to devote a lot more of my energy towards artillery. Um, I'm a old Prusa guy, so a lot of my habits and a lot of my expectations about quality and performance and everything started with how good of an experience I had with the Prusas. So, yeah. Lubricate with lubricant with Teflon in it. Yeah, we've got on a couple of the machines that we use here, um, we've got some spray lubricant with Teflon in it that's been used. Use it out in the shop all the time too. I don't see any reason why not. Just
Just remember, a little goes a long way. Don't use a whole bunch.
yeah, with as with anything, you can use too much of it or you can use it incorrectly. Just pay attention to how you're using it.
So I've seen guys even with the using the thermal compound get a little carried away. It's like you really don't need that much. Even on the heatsink, a little drop. You don't need to cover the whole thing end to end.
Oh, the people that brush their teeth with it too.
Well, yeah. And then I've seen one guy. I'm not going to say who it was, but put it all over the threads, like caked it on. It's like I don't know what you expect that to do other than make a big mess. Not going to make it any better.
Yeah, well, whenever yeah, you could.
Probably the best way to do it.
Well, on the Prusas, let me get this pulled up here. I still use this stuff here. Let me get it real quick. I'll be right back.
Three in one? Is that what that was?
Yeah, hopefully, sorry, I didn't mean to cough in your guys' ears. Um, Hopefully you saw that in the lab cam there. I threw the PTFE 3-in-1.
3 in 1, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I use that on all the Prusas and stuff still, and there isn't any reason why you couldn't use that on the rods as well. Just be careful that you don't put too much of it on, because that will drop down into the motor housings and stuff and screw things up.
Give Discord a check under the user images. Mouse posted a picture and his PEG print was brittle, and I'm almost thinking that's temperature related.
That's PETG. Temperature, yeah. Just try dropping the temperature back in 5-degree increments and see what happens.
And that's where I would use an XYZ cube, honestly, to try and figure out, because a lot of times if you're going too hot, it's going to get brittle and peel away. So you try and dial in your temps a bit, and then I'm almost thinking you get the cooling fan up a bit too high as well. So I think you're like too hot and then cooling it off too fast. Just a guess.
Yeah, PETG's kind of a fickle beast, and it's kind of brand dependent too. I've only got a couple of brands of PETG that I will use, and it's only because I've dialed them in and I've gotten good results every single time with them. For me, a lot of times it's just temperature adjustment.
And I want to say the stuff that I use, I run around 240 and my fan around 30. So,
Yep, that's
but now, like I said, depending on brand, try and drop it down about 5C. And then what's your retraction at? That's the other thing.
oh yeah. Chance, one of the users, Chance, posted that up, or he shot me a picture of that earlier today. It came out really nice, and yeah, he's using the uh, strain relief on it. Another good idea there.
Yeah, I heard they were putting the locks back on. I seen somebody show a picture of a newer one supposedly that had locks on it again. I meant to grab it, but I forgot. I thought it was the X1, but I'm not 100% positive. And see, the original version 1 and version 2 had the locks, but they shied away from it because people didn't know how to use them. So
The two that you're looking at right there, those are a version 2 and a early version 3, and both of those have locks on them.
yeah,
Now locks on
ribbon.
the Z ribbon and the board, but not on the X, or not on the extruder ribbon.
Which one doesn't have it?
Neither of them did.
Really? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
my version 1 and my version 2 have the locks.
Yeah, it had the locks on the or they both do have the locks on the Z ribbon and the board that's on the X gantry, but not on the extruder part of the ribbon.
Really? Because, like I said, mine have them on the extruder ribbon. That's why I was asking. I was like, okay.
Now I did that anyways. My very first burnt out ribbon, and only burnt out ribbon, going all the way back last year to June, was actually on that machine on the left. Um, excuse me. Um, the very first time I got a burnt out ribbon on that, that's when I designed the first uh, strain relief for the extruder, and also started putting hot glue on the ribbons. And they've been printing practically every day since.
Well, another trick you can do, because they supply it for you, is the book binding tape that they use and they put in your bags. You take a strip of that and run it across once you get it all lined up, and then that way it's removable if you need to get it off. Because my biggest problem with gluing them is then you gotta get the glue off if you want to move anything. Whereas the tape you could peel off and pull it away. But a printable solution is just as good, in my opinion. But I do think the book binding tape is relatively strong and works pretty good. Right. Knock the speed down to 25, drop it about 5 to 10C and see how that goes. I think that might fix your problem. Unless you had some crazy humidity recently that you know, that's the other thing I could think of that would cause that. Thanks, boss. I want to say that, you know, when you get the higher speeds with the retraction, you tend to see a lot of string in that, and that's just for me printing. I'm not saying it's a fact, but what I've seen when I got really high speed retractions, and especially repetitive ones, is it tends to seem like it pulls out so quick that it's causing that stringing to happen because it's pulling out, almost stretching out the filament really quick. So I try to keep it slower just so that it doesn't do that really quick pull, which gives you the instant stringing you don't want. Like the spider webs. More or less how I would put it. That's what I see when I do fast retractions. And for the most part, you really don't need really fast retractions, in my opinion. I try and keep them slow. Oh, well, that's more important than the feed. Got to take care of your family. Yeah, there you go. See, that's the problem with Cura likes to set it back. So I have to remind myself a couple of times, even with my save files sometimes. For some reason, I know Cura kicks it out. So like when you download like the 3D Nexus for Cura, even though he set it lower, it reverts back no matter what we do. Because we've talked about it a few times back and forth in Skype conversations and stuff. But his retraction goes back to stock Bowden style tubing, which you need all that retraction because of the Bowden tube. Whereas with a direct drive, it just screws things up. And I had to wrap my head around it too because I went from using Enders originally, so I had the Bowden setup, and then going to the direct drive, I couldn't wrap my head around it until I talked to actually, and I'm not a big fan of Prusa for other reasons other than his printers, but I talked to a couple of guys from Prusa who were like, yeah, we use it with the direct drive. You need to slow your retraction down and shorten it. It doesn't need to be as long. So that's where I got that information from. I usually run my pet G. I run lower. I run 1.5 at 25 millimeters a second. Well, basically, just so you know, the X1 and the Genius are basically the same. The only thing different with the printers is the build size. It's pretty much all the same internals and the same hot end, the whole shot. So you know, a Genius is a mini X1. Their detail, I think, is as good as an FDM printer can get once you dial in your specs. Using what Fen has put in with Cura makes it that much easier to get through these settings because, I mean, I had a bit of experience with it, but he catches stuff in some of the areas where you'd miss so that it's dialed in nice, so you don't have to go looking. Sorry, I'm getting notifications. My bad.
I'm back. Sorry
It's
about that.
a matter of
Folks.
getting dialed in with the settings, and like I said, with his you know, updates to Cura, it makes it that much easier. So getting your detail down isn't that hard then. It's okay. I lost my train of thought anyway. So
Yeah, everything's good. Sorry about that, folks. I was just getting a update from a family member in Hawaii, actually.
everyone okay?
Yeah, everything's all good.
Good.
Well, when it comes down to detail, I'm all about detail. That's the only reason I do this stuff. The artilleries, both the Sidewinder and the Genius, both are awesome. Um, well, better yet, I might as well just go for broke.
You got your mic on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, making sure. I know I can hear you.
Yes, your artilleries can print this well. Day in and day out.
I mean, one of the first models I actually did on the artillery was this guy. I mean, the detail on that. Even his fur came out.
My favorite little buddy, Rocket.
Right? Rocket. I'm still in love with this copper filament because I didn't paint that. That's actually printed in copper, and then I printed the rest of them in wood.
Well,
But that's wood like you got, so that's a hashbox wood.
yeah, just the other night on one of the streams, I was goofing around doing a prototype of a. Come on, focus. That's only about 30 millimeters wide, so it's not very big.
Yeah, you get the miniatures nice. I mean, I have to look at that because I need to adjust some settings, I think.
That's why I upload my settings for everybody.
No, I know I need to figure out what I'm doing. I think I'm just going too fast.
We have a microscope coming in, and I'm really going to get some zoom shots.
But now I even printed like something really small, like that's an earplug with a skull on the inside of it. That was printed on the X1. So I mean, it once you kind of get where you're at with your settings, you can dial it in, and you can get it going.
Well, a good example, I mean, a lot of people have printed this model. This is one of the Breeze. And a true testament to the detail that you can get is in the knitting of like the cap.
Right.
That's my favorite part of her.
Yeah, it came out good.
Yeah.
What, that part? The backside? Is that what you're saying? It's okay. We have the safety features on the channel, right?
I suppose. Hang on here.
Well, I got another one that I did. Let me get all the stuff off of it that I'm using. But I did a skeleton. This was actually no supports, which I think is phenomenal. But these are little skulls, and I don't know if I can get the detail on this or not. Let me see if I get the camera to focus on it. But those are little skulls inside there. And that's on basic settings. This was at only like 0.2, I want to say. But yeah, that all printed without supports.
There you go.
Yeah, you do the more of the model miniatures, which I think are cool. I just don't have the space for it. I got a whole like shelf out in my other room that I got with stuff that I printed that is getting in my wife's way. So
Those are using the 016. It's very rare that I feel a need to actually drop it down to the 012. There's even a 016 right there.
But yeah, I mean, if you spend the time and instead of trying to rush through the print, and I'm guilty of it because I want to see a print done. So I run stupid fast speeds sometimes when I shouldn't. And then I wonder why it doesn't look right. And that's mainly because I'm not going slow enough. You have to kind of be patient with them. If you want fine detailed models, you can't be ramping up your speed. That's a given. You have to slow down. And I got to remind myself that too a lot of times because I'm like, I just want it printed.
Things take as long as they take.
Well, I want the instant replication. I'm still hoping for the Star Trek thing where I push the button and I have exactly what I want, but we're
Yeah.
not there yet. So
Wait till I start showing you guys the resin printing. That's going to be a whole new world. Mr. Squarepeg, yes, I do a lot of my own models. That's the other part of what I do day in and day out. I have a couple of additional websites, Historic Origin Studios 3D, just for the heck of it. Just to give you an idea, I'm right in the middle of revamping that website, as a matter of fact. We're also going to have some guests coming up here pretty soon. Some of the more well-known modelers out there are going to be doing guest spots on the show too. I'm all over the place with that, so.
I don't think he's that much older than me, honestly. I fortunately, my family all look really young. I'm not going to lament how old I am, but I can give you an idea. I had 25 years on the force before I got hurt, so I'm used to waiting too. I just don't like to wait.
Somebody asking about how old I am or something.
He says that when I'm your age, I might be used to waiting.
If any of you have seen Remo Williams, I am Chun. Yeah, give me just a second. I'll have a couple of images up for you here.
Yeah, see, my only thing with minis though, and maybe I'm just cynical, but I if I was going to do minis, I'd go resin, just at how great they turn out. I mean, when you start getting to that small detail, that's where you're going to get from your models. But it's a hassle.
No, it's
I
not.
mean, there's a lot into doing resin,
Yes, it's a different game.
and there's a lot of safety considerations too versus FDM printing. So, I mean, you got to be careful with the resin. You got to be careful with what you're cleaning it with, how you're cleaning it, where you're doing it at with ventilation. There's a bunch of things to consider with that. So that, but the only thing is, like I said, if I was going to do constant minis, I'd buy a smaller resin printer and play with that for my small minis because you don't need a large build area anyway.
Well, some of the newer printers now, I'm just as much into the resin printers as I am into FDM, and in some cases more. We'll have just something up in a second here.
That's about as small as I go normally. He's not painted, unfortunately. I didn't get a chance to paint him yet. But that one was done on the artillery too. My enders are kind of like my whatever printers. If I just want to bang something out, but if I want something done nice, I usually use the artilleries. I'll be honest; those are my go-to printers.
go.
Those were fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's part of a unreleased.
I'll look at them over here. It's easier. Because I
Part,
have our screen really small.
part of a unreleased set, and that's just.
Wow,
I mean,
detail.
I've got hundreds of models that I do. The website listed here.
Very cool.
I missed one, I think.
Yeah, some of these guys want a lot of money for their STL files, and I mean, I get there's work going into it, but sometimes it's like, really? Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, that's FDM right there.
Is that for what size are the bottles on that one?
That's for any of the Vallejo, Army Painter. There's also additional
I'm going to ask you if it fits something. Let me find it really quick. Hold on.
Citadel. Citadel's got the weird size, and I also have additional images or that additional parts of that set for that.
So that's going to fit like the folk art ones? Or is that too big?
There isn't any reason there's another shelf modification to this set that I produce that will fit or should fit those bottles, but I've got a whole new deal coming out here pretty soon. That's one of the other things that I've been working on.
I like that. 26 millimeter, okay.
Give me just a second. I'll pull something up for you.
I have the wrong measuring device by me, of course, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. I'll ask him for real later and get the right thing. But I like the trays. It's nice. I like the way it looks. Because I got the basic stackable ones that I printed. Let me see. I could just show you. I got dig through my pile of stuff.
Well, also,
Well, yeah, I got the basic like stackable system that has the because you can stack them on top of each other.
yeah. I'm trying to
But
get.
I'd like to have something like that more so than these for my ones I use the most.
Since I'm shamelessly plugging, I might as well go to town with it.
Like I said, I like that. I mean, that actually looks like it's real wood too, which is awesome.
Yep, I printed the shelves. I printed the shelves in wood filament. There you go. And
Yeah, so you're gonna make me have to buy a bigger place.
now that shelving, that paint rack that is right there, it's a STL that I've been selling for the last few years. I'm right in the middle of revamping it with a new series. You can also see too, there's I got model stands that I did. This is for airbrushing. It's a model holder specifically for doing terrain tiles and things like that. And there's also airbrush masks that I created. It's a whole series of stuff. And let me see if I can find the picture for you. And that's all I'm going to give you as far as teasers go.
Yeah, I like that. It's cool. I gotta stop hanging out with you. You're costing me money.
Well, all of this stuff is what kept me working with FDM. I wanted to start putting out these models and releasing these models um, so that people with FDM printers could print them. And take me a second to find it. We're just lucky that is it here? Yeah. Yeah. We're just lucky that I'm running the stream from one of my workstations. That way I can show you some of the standard field. Bad monkey. I have folders that are proprietary, and I got to make sure I don't throw up something that doesn't belong on the screen. I was just mentioning a little while back that I really need to organize my photos from about the last 6 or 9 months.
Yeah, I'm there. I've been looking for a picture. I'm like, man, I know I have it somewhere. Which folder is it in, and where did I put it last?
Well, I wasn't anticipating showing this stuff off either.
Whoops, we sucked you down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, what I'll have to do, do I got them here? Nope. See, I've got my own stuff locked down so tight, I can't even find it sometimes. Well, just due to the nature of the work I do and everything like that, there's some work that I do is so super proprietary, you know, it's owned by other companies and things like that as well. So there's some things that I just don't take screenshots of, but my own personal stuff gets mixed in with it sometimes, and it's kind of appearing to be the case right here. But I have a teaser video that I can throw up. It's currently unlisted that I use for showing off to the wife, showing her some, I call them progress reports. You guys will have to check this out on your kind of on your own.
Well, Boaz, I kind of get stuck with whatever my daughter decides she doesn't need to use anymore for her college classes in artistry. So I usually wind up whatever paint she picks up. That's how I get most of my stuff. She'll be like, I don't need those anymore. I'm like, I'll take them. Don't throw them out. I got it. I like the way that print's turning out. Shoot.
There we go.
Something's not right with that. I'm going to fix that. Shoot.
Alright. I can let you guys peek at this. Kind of be an exclusive for you guys to check out. It's on It's an unlisted YouTube video, and it's just a quick peek at the next iteration of desktop merchandise that this whole paint rack system, the airbrush stations, the wet palettes, and all this other stuff is all following in line with this particular style. Everything's getting revamped. I've been working on this for about a year now, and I'm looking to get that released as a Kickstarter a little closer to summer.
You're gonna have to make the little Hawaiian tiki god so we can all feel at home why we're having all these problems. The
Well,
Brady Bunch.
yeah. Well, you know
I think it was in Hawaii, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, the Dungeon Terrain set. I almost released as a Kickstarter, and just because of how picky I am about some things, I made a complete set of a couple of hundred tiles. I got ready to release it, and I changed my mind because I wanted to do it better. the As an example, I mean, just here's just one of the test pieces right here. I Because I know how far we can push these printers, I wanted to take the texturing of the stone and everything to a new level. In the image that's on the screen right now, all of the stonework and everything is relatively flat. There is detail in it, but most of the detail that you're looking at is because of the painting that I did to it.
Right.
Nah, safe to say, nah, it's not going to be overhyped. Um, I I don't speak very highly of my stuff, over and above just saying, yeah, I liked how it turned out or something like that. This stuff I'm pretty excited about because being that I work with resin printers, and I work with FDM printers all the time too. I decided at some point, it's like, Artillery and companies like Artillery are starting to put out kick-ass FDM printers, and we can get super good detail out of them. So a few years back, when I released and put together some of this other stuff, I had to scale back how much detail I put into things based on what FDM printers were capable of. Well, now that we have what we have now, it's like I went balls to the wall and I decided to redo everything, and I've been working on it since last year, January, and it's looking like it's all going to come to fruition a little closer to summer. So, yes, yes, Bolos, I have often thought of making texture stamps and rollers and things like that. I did for the wife last year. I did I'll show you something here.
Yeah, I've done a few lithopanes. I don't have nothing to show because they were gifts, like for my family. I did my mother-in-law one of all the shots of all the weddings we've been to, and then ours in the center on the top. What's up, Split? I print them vertical. You seem to get better detail that way. If you print it flat, you're going to wind up with that one flat edge, and it doesn't seem to refract the light as well. Ah, filament hunting. That's fun. Kind of doing that myself. I keep screwing up these prints, and we need more filament too. be right back. Printer's calling.
Is that what that noise was?
Yeah. One of my printers finished.
Yeah, just getting ready to upload a few more goodies for you guys to peek at, and then I'll quit shamelessly plugging myself here. There we go. That's meant to be cast in bronze, but that's also FDM printed, and it can also be resin printed as well. And people were asking about, you know, texture rollers and stamps and things like that. These are both leather stamps. They can be cast in bronze or brass, you know, in my foundries here, as well as cast in resin for working with Fimo and the Sculpey. So yeah, I get around a little bit. Is which scenery, Bolos? The stamps and things like that I was showing you there are oh, the box, no, it's actually about a 4-inch 4-inch by 4-inch diameter box. There's a lid that goes with it too. It's very similar to the wooden box that I showed off the other night. Trinket boxes, things like that. Are you going to throw some images up on Discord, Square? We're just about at the 2-hour mark, or we are at the 2-hour mark for the stream right now. If you guys want to hang around for a little bit, that'll be fine, but I'm going to have to cut the stream for like 5 minutes so that this portion of the stream saves to remain current with the topic, so people don't, when it's reposted to Twitch and reposted to YouTube, people don't freak out that it's like 3 hours long. If the group of people out there, if you guys want to talk for a little bit longer, we can still do that, but I do need to shut the stream down for about 5 minutes or so. That'll give everybody a chance to freshen up a little bit and everything too.
Washroom breaks.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'll be good. I'll be good for another half hour, an hour after that. So we're going to shut the stream down 5 or 10 minutes and just wait for it, and we'll be back up again. In the meantime, anybody who's bored, you can go check out the Historic Origin Studios, the 3D site that I posted, as well as
You too, Bolos. If you don't make it back, have a good one.
yeah. Thanks for showing up. Oh, I forgot the second / on that. Oh well, shit happens. Anyways, be back in about 5 minutes, folks. Everybody that did show up, thanks for showing up. Please like, follow, subscribe. It'd be appreciated. We'll go from there.
See ya.